with you today, spend a little time, and I was kind of hanging out by the river for a little while. It's clouding up, getting rainy here this morning, so I'm out and about doing what I do, just trying to get things figured out here in my recovery, and thought I'd come spend some time with some people this morning and see how people are doing and see if people wanted to talk and engage with me this morning. Talk about recovery, talk about life, talk about just whatever. Today's one of those days where just trying to connect with some people, see if I can help them out, see if they can help me out in any kind of way, and enjoying this beautiful day. It's definitely springtime. So glad the spring came, and the winter's over with. Hi, Nasifa. How are you doing this morning? Good seeing you. Hope you're having a great morning this morning. So I'm out taking a nature walk and hike, you guys, this morning, and trying to get some planning together. Trying to get things figured out with my traveling. I'm here temporary where I'm at and traveling throughout the states, and just finished up a lot of stuff, a lot of obligations here in this state where I lived an old past life. I was an old alcoholic and destroyed my life and destroyed other people's lives, and I'm here sharing my recovery story, about how we can make changes in life. I felt like there was a need to get on here and share my story and to hopefully inspire and motivate other people in recovery, and also let other people know that recovery is possible. For years I didn't think recovery was possible at all. I was an unbeliever, and got sucked up into alcoholism, got sucked up into depression, dealt with a lot of incarcerations behind it, lost my family. A lot of things happened. I nearly lost my life, but I can just say today I'm very thankful to have this opportunity to be here to share my story, that the Lord has spared my life through it all. I still, each and every morning have to thank God for sparing my life. I feel like that, I'm lucky. I feel like I'm really lucky, quite honestly, for everything that I've been through, that I'm still alive. So I'm very thankful for that, and I'm very thankful for this day. Even though I don't have a lot, I'm dealing with homelessness right now, trying to rebuild. It's extremely hard in Virginia once you have a record and you're trying to rebuild and you clean your life up. It's a lot of barriers out there, that makes you just want to give up again and go right back into the system. And that actually happened to me about 7 times. I got washed up in and out of the system. I would give up, get out, try to get started again, and it did just make it almost impossible for a person with a record to try to get out to make it. Once you're down, they kick you and keep you down. But I keep on fighting through it. I keep on staying strong, keep on staying sober, not drinking, bracing the hardships in life, and staying strong. Knowing that in my heart that if I don't give up one day, all things will pass and good things will come. Life is kind of ups and downs. So that's kind of how it goes. Nasfa, I'm doing good. Thank you for asking. I'm doing really good. How are you doing this morning? How is your morning going? Having my coffee. I'm down here on the river, you guys, sitting, just kind of praying and meditating this morning. I love to get out here and pray and meditate and just think about life. Make sure I'm trying to make the right decisions in life. Sometimes, I can get in too big of a hurry and make rash decisions and wind up messing my life up, and sometimes even other people's lives. So I got to be really careful with the choices I make in life. Hey, Pizza Time, good morning. Thanks for jumping in with me this morning. You guys, we're on a nature walk and hike with me this morning. I'm sharing my recovery story with you guys, about rebuilding in life, what it takes to rebuild, how it's a challenge, how it's extremely hard to rebuild after you're trying to go from one phase into another phase of your life. I was an old alcoholic and dealt with depression for 17 years, and decided a couple years ago I didn't want to live that life anymore. I didn't want to live, the consequences that came with that life, and I quit drinking. I started facing life. I started facing my fears, these types of things, and life started to change for me, a little here and a little there, and it started to getting better. It's definitely not nowhere near perfect, and I still struggle a lot, but I can say that I'm not facing as many consequences as I used to. And I feel better about myself today. I feel like I'm taking better of myself, and it makes me feel better about life, and it gives me a better perspective on life. So I've been sharing my story now for a couple of years with you guys, and hopefully, I'm able to help other people. And also, like I say, you guys have been helping me a lot, encouraging me here in my recovery, so I greatly appreciate it. Do you really feel better? Yeah, actually, I do. I feel a lot better. I'm not, waking up hungover. I'm eating better. I'm sleeping better. I'm not as depressed as I was. Because alcohol is a depressant. The more I drank, the more depressed I actually got. So I do feel better. I feel like I look better and everything. So even though I don't look great, but I feel like I've took some years off. I'll just be honest with you. And drinking is just no good. I don't know of anything that's ever good come out of a bottle, quite honestly. Jose Sanders Journeys, he says, can I hear your story? I'm new. All right, so my story kind of goes like this, Jose. As a child, I was took from my father. I was abused by my dad. He's a pretty mean alcoholic. And I grew up in the state ward, as an orphan and in boys' homes and group homes. And I got out as a young adult, didn't know much about life, wasn't loved, didn't have any family support. Got hung up into social life, into alcohol, trying to get connected with other people, and became an alcoholic. And wound up getting depressed and became an alcoholic. Destroyed my marriage, actually 2 marriages. Destroyed my business, and kind of just went down the waste pipe of life. I had given up on life, and I had just didn't care anymore. And wound up getting incarcerated in and out for 17 years. And figured one day I would either die in prison or die from alcohol. I had pretty much given up. And a couple of years ago, I got sober and clean and gave up cigarettes and alcohol and got here on the channel to hopefully inspire other people, to let them know that recovery is possible, to let them know that they're not alone if they've been through a struggle in life, to let other people know that I understand the struggle, to let other people know I know how hard it is to rebuild in recovery. I'm out here doing it now. That's what I've been videoing for a couple years now, is my recovery, rebuilding, what it takes to rebuild, all the ups and downs I've been videoing with you guys, being able to stay strong through the tough times, these types of things. So Jose, that's my story. I'm also in the process of writing my autobiography about my life and about everything that happened in it. So I know everybody has a story, but hopefully my story can make an impact on other people's lives. Hopefully it can help them in some kind of way. I had a couple of friends of mine overdose within the past couple of years, and it really hurt me a lot. I was really close to them. So, I appreciate you asking, Jose, because I seldom forget that new people jump in here on the channel, and that people that are my subscribers already know my story. And I have to do sort of a refresher and let new people know my story and why I'm here. So I appreciate you asking. Jose said, I'm so glad I'm a responsible drunk. Well, I'm glad you could be responsible drinking, because I couldn't. I couldn't. I was a real Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I couldn't handle alcohol. Alcohol handled me. And I tell you, that was hard for me to accept, that something in a bottle, was able to control my life to a point of where it made me turn into another person, a person that I didn't want to be. And I couldn't surrender. That was my thing. I couldn't surrender to alcohol. And I just kept on drinking. It was a battle between me and alcohol at one point. And I finally was like, you know what, I'm licked. It's got the best of me. I've served 17 years in and out of prisons and jails. I've lost my mom and dad. I've lost my wife. Enough was enough at that point. So, I started making changes. Let's see. Yeah, I got mouthy, but that's just about, I don't have any drinking charges. Well, that's good. I'm glad you don't have any drinking charges. I knew I got some. I used to get mouthy too and get in fights. I dealt with a lot of anger coming out of my abusive childhood and everything I had to go through. And I'm just so glad I'm not that person today. Uh, I feel like that today I'm able to control my emotions better and deal with them better, and that's something that I'm learning to manage is my emotions. And because I can be quite honest, I drank a lot of times to deal with my emotions, and that's just being honest, and but the drinking brought on a lot of negative consequences in my life. And now, I'm able just to come out here and pray and meditate, when I'm feeling some type of way, and understanding that this too shall pass. That, everything changes. Seasons change, people change, everything changes, and once I kind of grasped that in life and realized that, I was able to be patient and wait on life, because life has its way of taking control in times that will just not allow things to happen for me the way that I want to. So I'm learning patience. That's what I've been learning here in my recovery. Jose said it's funny how every time I drink on stream, they think I'm an alcoholic. I just like a drink. Well, I understand some people like to drink, and it's okay, I guess, if you can handle it and it doesn't control your life. So I'm glad that's not an issue for you. Nasfa says, bye, I have to go and pick up my friend from school, but after I will come back. Okay, Nasfa, have a good one. Take care, drive careful. Thanks for stopping in with me this morning. You guys, I'm going to get up for a little bit. My legs are starting to cramp. We're going to take a walk. Get to look around a little bit here this morning. Do a nature and wildlife hike. I like getting out here praying and meditating, like I said, and trying to get my thoughts together in life and find direction and deal with things internally, not dealing with things externally that's going to get me in trouble. I'm having some coffee this morning, like I said, taking my walk. It's good having you guys with me this morning. And it's a pleasure having you here in my community. You encourage me here in my recovery. And you also encourage other people, and this channel's been growing and the engagement has been getting better, and I'm really glad for that. It took me, not giving up. There's been lots of times I've been wanting to give up here in the channel. I didn't get the response that I thought I should get here. Didn't get the engagement, didn't get as many people interested in recovery or my recovery story, and I almost bagged it up, threw it in the towel and said, I just don't have enough people here. It's a waste of my time. But, that would have been selfish. That would have been very selfish of me, simply because I have had people here that said that I am helping them, and if I go and I give up, then I'm letting these people down. So I'm sticking around. I'm staying here, staying as strong as I can through it all, and trying to stay physically strong, too. Whew. I've been wore out this past week, I can tell you. They make it hard on you, like I said, trying to rebuild, trying to find housing, trying to find employment after, having a criminal record, trying to clean your life up. It's like once you're down, they keep kicking you and keep you down. They definitely have their system set up that's backwards. And I'm just going to be honest with you, and it's, once you look at it and it all comes out in the wash, you kind of see, they don't want you to get back up. They don't want you to get off probation. It's all money racket. And I just had to stay strong through it all. Everything they throwed against me, I just had to deal with it. Deal with it the best way I know how internally, and not fight back. I used to fight back for years, and all they would do when I fight back is lock me up. So, got tired of that. Fought the law, and the law won, right? You can't beat the people that made the paper, and you can't beat the people that made the jails. That's for sure. I know I definitely tried and didn't feel like things were right and my rights were being, violated, but it don't matter. These people run things and it is how it is. You either have or you have not. And that's just life, Some people get it and some people don't, so that's all I can say. Hope everybody's having a great morning this morning. Say I'm out walking, just doing some prayer and meditation this morning. Trying to find some direction in life here in my recovery, about where life is going to take me at next. I finished up here everything, why I had to stay here. I got that done. Made an approach to try to meet my daughter for the first time. Did that, so now it's on to whatever life brings next in my travels. You know, I've never been out on the West Coast, and I've been anxiously wanting to get out there and see the Rocky Mountains. I've had people tell me that if I wanted to see something beautiful, to head out to the Rockies and to head out there, and if I went out there, that I'd never want to come back to the East Coast ever again. So I'm anxiously thinking about, you know, making that travel, you know, taking that trip here pretty soon, actually. And, you know, I take you everywhere I go, so you'll be going on my travels with me, and I appreciate having you here. You know, it's definitely been an amazing part in my journey here in my recovery. Definitely a place in my life I thought I would never be at. You know, I figured I would be dead in prison, or drinking would have killed me, or, you know, I just never would have thought it. So I'm very grateful to be here today. You know, very thankful to have this opportunity. I thank the Lord. I thank the Lord above for saving my soul, you know, for forgiving me as a sinner, you know, for all the bad things I've done in my life as an alcoholic. You know, had it not been for the Lord, you know, it's no way possible I'd be able to live today in peace the way I'm able to live. You know, I can live in that forgiveness, and I can move on in my life today. I know for a long time I couldn't move on, and it made it really hard in my life. You guys probably hear the water running. I'm up here at the dam. I'll show you guys the dam here. I used to come here and fish. So this is one of my favorite fishing holes here. And this little pool of water right here, it's a lot of catfish, big flatheads and blue catfish down in this fishing hole right here. And I used to use shrimp. A lot of people use chicken livers and things like that. But what I found is to use shrimp. You know, take some jumbo black shrimp, let them set out in the sun all day, let them get rotten. And it works really good for catfish. You can catch them during the day. But yeah, this is a really great catfishing hole here. I've caught some monsters out of here, actually. And on up here on this dam, back years ago when I was a kid, I used to walk across there, all the way across over to there, and come out on that rock ledge right there and fish. And it's a lot of catfish out in there too. But just out taking a walk, enjoying the river this morning. It is absolutely beautiful. I'm so glad spring came. Thanks, Joshua, for liking and subscribing. It's good having you this morning. Thanks for jumping in with me. See these logs right here? They finally started coming over off of this log jam where the flood came back a couple months ago. This was all flooded out, and those logs and stuff came over. But I thought it looked pretty neat. That is some monster catfish down in there, man. Seen some really big ones caught out of there. I say I hope everybody's having a great day today. God bless each and every one of you. It is Monday, so we're here at another week, and hopefully this week, you know, I can get some things together in my travels, get some itinerary together for where I'm going next. I'm just here temporary. I actually came back through. This is my hometown, just stopping through to try to meet my daughter for the very first time in life. Made the approach, didn't really get a response that, you know, I wanted to get. But I've accepted that. You know, I can't make anybody do what they don't want to do. You know, I made some bad choices in life, and I wasn't there for. And but I'm here now. You know, I'm making that attempt, and you know, not getting the response I want. But you know, it is what it is. You know, not drinking about it, not giving up, continue to remain faithful, and one day, you know, I'll meet my daughter. She'll get older, you know, and things have become possible later on in life. But I wanted to at least make that attempt to try to come down here and meet her once I clean my life up, and just trying to be a dad, you know, doing what dad's supposed to do, you know, trying to do the best we can. But you know, it's life, you know, sometimes we get what we want, sometimes we don't, but we keep it moving, you know, and that's what I'm gonna keep it doing, keep it moving and keep going here in my recovery, staying strong, moving on to the next stop and posting more nature and wildlife videos for you, hanging out with you, talking about recovery, talking about life, talking about things that's just going to make our lives better. You know, I can't say enough, you know, a miserable life is no way to live. But it's been a pleasure having you guys with me this morning, and I look forward to live streaming more with you this week, sharing my recovery story, talking more about life. And check out some of my videos and subscribe if you like. I love to have you here, part of my community. You not only encourage me in my recovery, but you also encourage others in their recovery as well by being a part of this community. And you guys have a great rest of your Monday today, and I'll see you sometime this week, and I'll try to get some more videos posted up for you, some nature and wildlife. Until then, God bless, and y'all have a great day now. Bye, everybody.